Howdy guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the 2019 Ford GT Heritage Edition, and I wanted to follow up on my review of the 2006 Ford GT Heritage Edition and show you a lot of the same stuff and what is different about this car compared to that one. And then we'll take it out on the road and I'll show you how it drives. So one thing that I think's cool but also annoys some other people is this key fob. It's the same key fob as you get for a lot of other Ford vehicles, but it just has the GT logo installed right there. The buttons on the other side are pretty much the same. So first we'll start on the outside to look at some of the more unique things on the outside of this car, not just talking about the Ford GT itself, but also this Heritage Edition. So I'll talk about some of the things that are unique to the Heritage Edition. So on the Heritage Edition, we'll talk about some of the changes in the Heritage Edition first. First of all, you got these pewter colored wheels. These are unique to just the Heritage Edition. You can't get this exact colored wheel on a normal Ford GT. Also, it comes with these huge Brembo orange calipers that are unique to the Heritage. Of course, you got the two-tone paint. Now, one thing that's cool about this one versus the old one is this entire car is paint or carbon fiber. There's no decals on this car, right? So this is blue paint, this is orange paint. And then when we go over here to the door roundels, you'll see the exposed carbon fiber in the number 9. So different from the old Heritage Edition where the roundel was a decal, this is embedded into the paint. So this is paint, this is exposed carbon fiber from the actual car. And I have to note there's carbon fiber all over this car. I think it might not be known to everybody that the entire car body is made of carbon fiber. So you'll see carbon fiber in a lot of other places, like right here and right here on the A-pillars, of course down here on the door sills all the way across, and right over here on these engine bay louvers right here. You can get a lot of the carbon exposed parts if you got the Carbon Edition Ford GT as well, but the Heritage Edition comes with carbon fiber as well. So down here on the back splitter is carbon fiber, then the carbon fiber is here on the front. So some of these things are the same on all the Ford GTs, but this paint scheme up here all the way through the car is unique to only the Heritage Editions. It throws back to the livery of the Gulf Ford GT that ran the LeMans 1968 and won. And so it was in a Gulf Heritage, so that car was in a Gulf livery with the number 9 on it, and that is why this one comes with the number 9. So all of the 2019 Heritage Editions come with a number 9. The 2020 Heritage Edition, which is just being released now, is very, very similar to this car. Paint scheme's the same. There's a couple of unique differences, like notice there's no pinstripe on this car. In 2020, the number 6 car will have a pinstripe, so that's a little bit different between the 19 and the 20. And then the number up here will be number 6, because in 1969 the Ford GT that won Le Mans was a number 6 on the doors. I'll get into the passenger seat and we will talk about some of the differences in the Heritage Edition here on the interior. These seats are designed a little bit different with these holes in the middle that are kind of throw back to the old seats from the 60s, and even similar to the seats from the 05 and 06 where they had the round holes throughout them. So it's just Alcantara with a little design in it, but it is kind of a cool throwback. Here on the sides and up around here, you've got leather bolsters and the contrast stitching with the blue and the orange that's the same as the colors out here. You've got the door sills and these panels that are all completely carbon fiber. It is kind of interesting, we learned this when we went to get the car delivered, is that this panel right here is carbon fiber. It's real carbon fiber, it's not fake. However, this panel right here is the only carbon fiber piece in the whole car that is not actually part of the body of the car. It is an actual cover over this door sill right here. Every other piece of carbon fiber, you'll notice there's carbon fiber in the console, all around the bottom of the tub, up here on the dash, all over here off the dash, side doors over there, even on the seats. Every other bit of carbon fiber on this car is structural to the actual car, like it's actually part of the actual car. This is the only piece that is just laying over something else. So really, really cool way that they constructed this car, and another way that this car is set apart from most other supercars out there, especially the other American supercars out there. So over here on the passenger side, you'll notice that footrest right there. That is actually a US spec footrest. You'll see there's a gap back here where there's extra space, but because of the crash settings in the United States, that footrest has to actually be there. It can be removed, but from the factory spec, it has to come with it. Another thing that's amazing about these Heritage Edition is you'll notice the number 9 that's kind of interwoven into the carbon fiber on the door. So if you get a normal Ford GT, even if you get the carbon fiber door panel, it doesn't come with the number 9 or anything, any sort of design in the door panel, but it does come in the side of both doors on the Heritage Edition. So let's get all the way in here. So first we're going to look at the other features of the interior. So this is the steering wheel. So the steering wheel also has some contrast stitching in the Alcantara all the way around. This is the light bar for when you're shifting gears and you're in track mode. Also when you start up the car, which I'll do a little bit later, it'll light up for you. There has to be an airbag there, so that's kind of the ugly bulge in the middle. Otherwise, this steering wheel is amazing. So this is all real carbon fiber right here. You've got all of your controls for the entire car right there. You've got all of them so they are within distance. If you're holding it at like the 3 and 9 position, they are within your thumb's distance. I can go there, 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 change that, headlights, whatever it is. On this side, I can do the same thing. I can see windshield washer, wipers, blinker, radio controls, all within right there in that range. These are the shifters, obviously. Really awesome, high quality materials back here with these shifters, the downshift and the upshift for the dual clutch transmission. So let's talk briefly about some of the things in this car that you'll find on other cars, or they came from the parts bin at the parts department in Ford, and why some people are going to throw the entire car under the bus because of a couple of parts that are not necessarily Ford GT unique. So we'll look at those real quick. So one of the first ones and most obvious ones is right here, the gear selector. This gear selector knob is in a lot of other cars, a Fusion, Escape, all kinds of cars right there. It's really the exact same thing. Manual transmission button in the middle, so not all of those cars have a dual clutch, but if you did, that's you press the M and then you'd be able to drive manually. If you're in D, which is normal drive automatic mode, you can still upshift and downshift, but otherwise the car is going to shift itself. Other things that are not special are these window switches. These are apparently the same as a lot of other cars. Same with the mirror switches here. And then I love this one, the light switch right here. So the light switch, this is actually exact same light switch and even the position of it in the car as my wife's Ford Explorer. But there's one thing that I love about this. It's right there. So that's the trunk hatch button, or in this case, like the engine cover button. And I'm getting not good focus here, but the picture of it actually is a little Ford GT back end. So they could have just put another car on there, which they didn't, which I thought was really cool. So I mentioned that the key fob is a parts bin key fob as well, but you'll notice here, the trunk just looks like a normal car, probably a Ford Taurus or something like that. So it's, yes, that's from the parts bin, but at least they made that little unique change with the little Ford GT. Lock and unlock buttons, which are on some other Fords. This button right here, which I understand is from a Lincoln Continental, I believe, is an electronic door opener button from there. It's also the electronic door opener for this car. Another feature that I don't think too many people really knew about at all was back behind these seats. So these seats are actually fixed to the back wall. So they are stuck there. You can't move. There's the harness mount points right there. That was an option on this car. You can't move them. But here's the crazy part is back there behind that seat, way, way, way back there, if you happen to be crazy enough to take this seat out, you will actually know that there is a little storage net attached to the back of this seat. Why? I have no idea, because you can't get to it even if you tried. And that was discovered by Shmi 150. He took his Ford GT to Sparco, the factory that actually made these seats, at Sparco tag right here, to get a few upgrades done. He actually got some contrast stitching to match the color of his car, and he found that little pouch back there whenever they took the seat off. So kind of crazy. So now that we've got the door open, there's a few things to show you. One of them is this. This is the door hinge. This is about the most heavy duty door hinge you will ever see on any car. I mean, look at the size of it compared to my hand. It is that big. And I know you're gonna say, well, that's because the door has to open like a butterfly. I'll bet you can put that up against any other butterfly door, Hinge, Lamborghini, or any McLaren, any of the other ones. And this thing is insane, just solid aluminum. And you think for a race car that has to be really lightweight, they wouldn't go all out with this, but it also has to be built really well because the race cars also have the butterfly doors. So they got to get these doors open and closed. They can't have anything fail out on the racetrack. So while I've got the door open, you'll notice there's a net down here. This actually does not come from the factory with this mesh right here. This is probably the most popular aftermarket modification. Put these on, and everyone puts these on the second they deliver the car, because if you don't, all the debris, you see all the debris there, it would come through from under the car and right up through this hole right here. So there's a hole in the door right there. And so all of that debris that has caught now, and I've cleaned it out a little bit, but all that debris would otherwise come shooting up this hole in the door and potentially scratch the inside of that door right there. So that is why we install those. Now let's say I got stuck in this car and the battery died. And so I couldn't use those electronic door openers. I had to get out. That is what this is for right here. So it actually has another little picture of a Ford GT, which is really cool. So you lift that up and pull it forward, and that then releases the door so I can get out. So it's kind of cool. So in case say something crazy happens, you have a way out. Some of the design features on this car, that is the famous flying buttress. You can see right back to where the wing is and into my backyard if you wanted to. Over here, giant scoop for the air inlet as well. So the air goes in through here, up through this buttress. So there's actually charge pipes in this wing right here. So it goes in there into the turbochargers, which are right about there, spins, comes back, cools it again, and then goes back into the engine. So the air travels quite a ways, but it gets tons and tons of cool air because of this huge scoop that goes through it. Air intake and the intercooler are over here. Also, if we look at some of the other design features, there's a vent right here, and then there's an air inlet right here. Those are on the inside of the flying buttress, as you can see right there. And the hot air actually comes out through the tailpipe. So it goes in through there and right out through the tailpipe, cooling the intercooler and the other stuff that's over there behind that hood scoop. And there's another vent right here. Of course, all the vents here are very functional. So you'll notice this big wing, and the wing is up right now. You can have the wing go up on its own, or you can have it to where it's passive, where it comes up only when you hit the gas and get over a certain speed. So this wing actually is not just a normal wing. You'll see right here, it does move. It goes front and back like that. If you need to use it as an air brake, it'll go like that, and it just changes shape based on how you're driving. It's really cool. The exhaust on this car, I really love these black exhaust tips. This is the base exhaust, so it comes with huge tips that are black. I really love the look. Did not get the titanium exhaust. Hopefully one day if I wanted to have a better exhaust, I would upgrade it to something else. So that's why we just went with the base model, but overall it still looks and sounds fantastic. Probably my biggest overall gripe about the car, just completely overall anything, is this exhaust. And not because of the sound, but because of this. Every time I start up the car, there's a little bit of moisture in the pipes and spits it out. Well, the way it's designed, it spits it right there onto the paint. So I've got to come clean it off. Notice right here, there's wrap, but you can't wrap all the way up there, otherwise it'll get too hot and melt. So it gets right on the paint. Super annoying. Let's open the back. Press that, it opens, and you just lift it straight up. Notice it's cut out in the spoiler right here, so you can still lift that up. This is the little bit of trunk space you have in this car. I've got all the things I have to have: front license plate and registration, the trickle charger that comes with it that I just put in here while I moved the car, the box for the trickle charger, the emergency kit right here, which you hopefully never have to use, but let's bring it with you. So just holding in here the stuff I absolutely have to take with me. I can't take anything else. Maybe like a folder of papers can lay on top. And that's about it. If you want to get a backpack in there, you'd have to take all that stuff out, and then you wouldn't have that stuff with you, or it can go up in the cab. Open, let's talk about the engine. This is actually a really, really cool looking engine and engine bay. These are really awesome carbon fiber valve covers right here. It's EcoBoost V6, obviously. A really, really beautiful, beautiful oil cap right there. Really, really awesome. So it's nothing really amazing to look at compared to like the V8 that was in the 0506 GT, but still a really, really good way that they presented the V6 in this car. You'll also notice the intake pipes right here, how they come up there from the ceiling. As I said, air comes through the flying buttresses into the car. So with the old GT, the entire back side of the car came up and you could see the engine and everything about it. Not the case on this thing. They just have this little engine cover right here with a little trunk cover, and it's just not quite as striking and really, really raw and cool as the 0506 did with the engine bay opened. Let's go into the driver's seat and see what we can do here. So closing this is also a huge pain. You think it'd be easy, you think you just latch it right there, but it doesn't work that way. So you gotta measure it perfectly, close it, and then you've gotta have it fail on you a couple of times. See? Hold on, let me try two hands. There you go, it clicked. Huge, huge, huge pain in the butt. That's probably on my new list of 5 things I hate about this car, is closing that stupid trunk lid. So let's get in the driver's seat. So getting into this thing is actually much different than the 0506 too. So the 0506 GT was also a huge pain in the butt to get in and out of because the door swung that way with the roof cut out into the door. So you had to open it almost a complete 90 degrees in order to get in and out. This car you don't, which sounds good, but it's not, because this thing also doesn't completely clear the doorway. So you have to, again, get in and out. You still have to duck like this and kind of slide in. I have actually gotten pretty good at kind of like going at an angle all at once. The problem is it really isn't really great on my knees, but I'll show it to you here. One second. Just like that. So now that we are in the driver's seat, we can kind of see some of the other cool, unique features about this car. So I want to talk about one of the unfortunate things when it comes to driving a car like this, and that is visibility. So the windshield itself is not very big. The rear view mirror takes up a large chunk of real estate on the front windshield. The view in that mirror is not good. The view in that mirror is not good at all. The mirrors, if you didn't know this, are at different areas of the car. See how close that is to the to that seam in the door? Then on this side, it's much further away. That's so when I'm in this seat, I can see about the same angle in both mirrors, even though it's not very good. And then when you look through the back mirror, it's hard to see with the camera here, but you can't really see much. The spoiler is up, so you can see only about half of what you could otherwise normally see. So visibility is not great. There's no like 3/4 window, so your blind spot visibility sucks. If you wanted to turn around and look, it's not really great back that direction either. So it just does not have very good visibility all around. But we'll talk about the steering wheel. I showed you most of the things there. One thing that I don't like about the steering wheel is, again, I am about 6'1", so if I'm holding the camera right here at about eye level, you can see I can't really see the dash. I can only see about the bottom half of the dash, so if I ever want to see what my speed is or anything, I kind of have to just duck just a little bit so I can see that stuff. If you were shorter, then you'd be right here, but you'd probably only be about 5'6" or so. Since we're talking about height, you know, in the other car, in the 06 GT, I had about 2 inches of clearance. I have about 2 inches of clearance here with my hat on. So it's about the same, but it just feels more comfortable than the 06. I'm not 100% sure why, but the way that door was cut out, it gave me clearance there, but I didn't have clearance then in the middle. Here it's flat all the way across, so I think that's why it feels a little more comfortable. The seat bolsters are extremely firm and extremely comfortable. I really love that. So the seat itself is way more comfortable than the 06, which can kind of make for it to be just a very easy car to drive. It's actually somewhat comfortable once you kind of get into the drive. It's very, very comfortable. But if there's a bad thing about the interior, it's the fact that I'm sitting here just kind of relaxing, and you see where my elbow is? It's on the seat next to me. So yes, I've driven this car many times with a passenger. Yes, it's super tight. So that is a big difference between it and the 06. The 06 had a huge console in the middle separating the two seats, where actually the gas tank was. This one, the console is literally this small, and these seats are just touching it. So there's, you can touch both. I can almost touch both with, you see, I can touch both seats with these two fingers like this. I don't think too many other cars you can do that on. This out also. So here's the air vents right here. It's really interesting that the air vents are touching the door. And there's other cars that have that. It's just really cool the way that they designed it. Again, coming through that vent, into that vent, and then out and pointed at the driver. And then this one's pointed at the passengers. No air vents up here. So one thing, if you didn't know, this is the exact same dash that you're going to see on the race car. It really hasn't changed at all. This is structural, and there's also, like, I guess the radio antenna apparently is in there, but this is all the same as you're going to see on the race car. So there can't be any air vents or anything up there. They put them in the door so they can take them off on the race car. This, of course, is not there for the race car, and a few other little modifications. So now I'm going to start up the car. I'm going to show you some of the cool things when you start up the car, kind of going through the menu, the sync system, and some stuff like that, and then we'll get this car out on the road. All right, so the car is kind of to life right now. I'm going to press the button here and get it started. I'm going to hold the camera here so you can see the lights here on the steering wheel. I've also got the windows open so you can hear the exhaust. Here we go. So that's really cool. There's a sync system here. Works like most other cars that have the Sync 3 system. It's really the same as all those other cars. I'm gonna roll the windows back up using my Ford Fusion buttons there. So the dash is really cool when you change modes. It changes the dash. It's from sport into normal into wet. If I wanted to go to VMAX, I can. I'm not going to though. But when you go to VMAX, the car goes down. That's a little animation there. And then the wing actually will go down as well, because the wing does not go in VMAX. But I'll show you track mode in a little while. Okay, we're gonna put it back in normal for now. So over here you've got some gauges. These are customizable gauges. You can get to the menu by pressing the back button. Launch control, if you want to turn that in, information, rear wing deployment. So I've got that rear wing up right now. You can put it on auto, or you can put it on raise. If I put it on auto right now, let me go back in there. There you go. If I put it on auto right now, it's not going to do anything. It's only going to go down when you're over 25 miles an hour. They don't want you to pinch your hand or something. So I'm just going to keep it back on raise so it doesn't confuse anybody. Go back into the menu. And there's the display settings. This display changes all those little gauges that were over there. Change the language. Vehicle settings. Performance shift indicator if you want to change that. Locks, remote start, windows, wiper. So all those things you can change in the menu in the car. And it's really, really cool. So using Apple CarPlay or Sync really kind of does all the same thing. You can go back to phone and things like that, just like any normal car would. But if I go into the Ford Performance app, all of a sudden now I can record runs that I'm making in the car. So if I was going around a track, something like that, I could do that, and I could record the coordinates of it. I can use the camera on the phone to kind of have a viewing angle up there if I mount it on the windshield. Lots of really cool stuff that only works with the new Ford GT. So probably my favorite cool feature is that with a press of a button on the dash, I can lower the car a full 2 inches. Or when the car is raised, I can actually press another button to activate just the front lift and raise it another 2 inches above. So I'm gonna get in the car and show you another demo of how that works. So guys, driving this car is kind of interesting because it's a very tight fit. The seat is very, very snug, but at the same time it's pretty comfortable. I mean, it does sit with a good enough room above my head. There's probably about a 2-inch gap above my head with the hat on. The bolsters fit perfectly. I'm about 6'1", so it's actually a very easy to drive car because of the way it's very comfortable in here. There's a good amount of arm room, even though everything seems so tight. There's a good amount of arm room. Now, if you have a passenger, that's a different story. If you have a passenger, you're literally sitting shoulder to shoulder. My arm, if I'm in comfort, sitting comfortably, is my elbow is over on the side of this seat. So if you have a passenger, it's not necessarily the easiest. You're kind of going to sit like this. But if you're driving by yourself, it's actually a very, very comfortable car to drive. Now, if you happen to watch my video that I made a long, long time ago about the things I actually hate about this car, one of them is the steering wheel. So the steering wheel itself is cool in the shape. It's kind of got this circular square look, right, which is really cool. But it's very functional, right? I'm not doubting its function, but the two things I hate are all the controls on the steering wheel, which is cool but also annoying, like the blinker lights, but also the way it's shaped. A guy that's as tall as me, I can't see the dash. Like, I can see just the bottom half of it. So anytime I need to look down at my speed, I kind of have to do one of these, which isn't a big deal, right? Let's be real, but just a little annoying. Let's get a little acceleration here. It should seem extremely obvious that this car is very rough. The suspension is very, very tight, which is great for cornering and absolutely horrendous for just driving normally. You can feel every little bump and dip in the road. But having said that, I will say that it feels, the body itself, the car itself, is much smoother than the 2006. So the 2006 comparatively though has some thicker tires, which gives it a little softer of a ride. When you listen to the exhaust that you probably just heard, the exhaust itself is not very loud at all. I mean, it's loud when you have a cold start, and when you really gun it, it's nice and loud, but it's not like crazy loud like a deep V8 growl. But it definitely makes up for that in the turbochargers. I mean, the turbos are second to none. And the way that those things spool up and sound is just absolutely incredible. So here I am at, more or less highway speed. Car drives very, very smooth. I think it's kind of a misconception that this car couldn't be daily driven. I mean, practically wise, it definitely couldn't be daily driven, but it's actually an easy car to drive. In automatic, with the different ride settings, it's an easy car to drive. It's relatively comfortable. The only downside is just that kind of rough feeling of feeling every dip in the road and hearing every rock spit up from the tires. It's very sticky Pilot Cup 2 tires. So the car handles amazing. So this being a heritage model comes with the Alcantara steering wheel along with the dash and the Alcantara seats. These seats specifically also have the leather bolsters on the side right here with the contrast stitching, the orange and blue contrast stitching to match the Gulf colors. So another great thing about this car is, of course, the drive settings. Right now it's in normal mode, and this is the little toggle switch right here. All you have to do is go up to sport. It changes to where now the transmission speed that you're in is in the center. The tachometer goes to kind of a different, more prominent color, and then the speedometer is over on the right hand side. It's a little smaller, considering that if you're on the track, the speed the gear you're in is supposed to be more important than the speed. So when you go into sport mode, it automatically changes the drivetrain just a little bit. It alters the exhaust note just a little bit. You can feel it a little bit more. Those accelerations punch a little bit harder. Even the turbo spool a little bit earlier, and it just makes for a little bit better driving experience in sport. It also holds the gear longer without shifting when you're in automatic mode. So another thing that it does is when you're in sport mode, it automatically deploys the spoiler in the back at a certain speed, and then it brings it back down. The next mode is track mode. Now I can't get into track mode unless I'm parked. So if I go back the other direction, now I'm in normal. Now it goes into wet mode, and it's interesting. So as soon as you go into wet mode, you actually feel the car almost do the opposite of what it did in sport mode. It actually kind of slows down a little bit. It kind of controls the drivetrain a little bit more than in sport mode, where it kind of accelerates that drivetrain a little bit. So it's really interesting. I've never driven the car in the rain. I don't really intend to, but it is a track car built for a 24-hour all-endurance race, and you never know when it's going to start raining in the middle of a 24-hour race. So it got to build it that way. Again, this is the race car. So for better or worse, this car also gets a ton of attention on the road. As people just drove by, and the person in the passenger seat was, filming the car, which I don't mind that. Whatever. I always say, if you see me or the car out, just take whatever pictures you want, video you want, things like that. But what I don't like, and please don't do this if you see this car, or really any other guy driving a supercar out there, is if you are driving the car, do not take your phone out and start taking pictures and videotaping while you're driving next to that person, because it now makes both cars extremely unsafe on the road. So here I am in wet mode. I can go back to normal, and it immediately, the car sounds different. See, it brings up different gauges a little bit. The car just sounds a little more aggressive again. Go back down to sport mode, and oh, look at that. It actually accelerated by itself for a minute. That was a little strange. So it's really easy to go between the different modes. The display is right there. It's really cool. So that is one of the best things about this car, no doubt. And all in all, love the car. I think it's one of the best driver's cars out there produced today. I haven't gotten a chance to drive something like a McLaren Senna or anything like that, but I think people, they look at this car and they think, wow, it's expensive. Why is it so expensive? And hopefully I've explained to you guys some of the reasons why it's so expensive. It is tough to say that it's really worth 10 times a base model C8 or something like that, and I get it, right? They're not gonna always match up perfectly on the track, but you have to remember this car can, as it stands right now, more or less go compete in a 24-hour endurance race. They'd obviously want to put on some different aero and things like that, but the car itself is the same. Whereas something like that C8 Corvette, even though I love and want to get one of those, it has to have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of modifications done to a base C8 in order to make it an actual race car, especially an endurance car like that. So I think everyone's got to look at it through that lens. Plus, it's an incredible investment. They're going to make about 1,350 of these over the span of about 6 years. There's about 50 of these heritage models each year, or at least in 2019 there was around 50 that were produced. So it's a rare car. It's very, very likely to go up in value just like the older 05, 06 Ford GTs did. They've already gone up in value in the auctions, but I think they'll dip a little bit into the $700,000-800,000 range, and then once they stop production and people stop driving them as much, I think they'll go back up. They're going to make about the same amount of these as they made the Ferrari F40 back in the early 90s. Same amount of number, 1350 or so is that target. And so you see what the prices on those are going up to $2, $3, $4 million. I don't know if that's what'll happen here. I know we're talking about a Ford and not a Ferrari F40, something like that, but you never know. It could happen. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm back home now, so I'm going to sign off. But until next time, adios. I can't find the remote. It must have fallen off the seat.